Hello from Fox News headquarters. It is now Wednesday on the East Coast. Polls have just closed now in Hawaii. I'm John Roberts. Good to be with you and good to be with you.
Yeah, you too. All right, we have got the very latest for you now. I'm Shannon Bream. The Fox News decision desk can project that Vice President Harris will win Hawaii. The Aloha State has voted for a Democrat in every presidential election since 1984.
Fox News can also project that Hawaii's Democratic Senator Mazie Hirono will win a third term.
And here's a look at the balance of power in the Senate, which Fox News in the last hour has called for Republicans. They've officially flipped it. More seats still in play.
All right, let's check in since we've turned the clock to a new day to our reporters at both campaign headquarters.
Rich Edson with the Harris camp in Washington, D.C., and Alexis McAdams with the Trump team in Florida. We start with Alexis as Trump headquarters in a new day. Hey, Alexis.
That's right. A new day and a new mood here. The more we check in with you guys, the more excitement there is on the ground. I know when we just saw Rich a short time ago there in Washington, D.C., there wasn't so much dancing going on there in that crowd, but that has happened here on the ground with a lot of excitement, especially when they called North Carolina, rather, for former President Trump. This place went nuts. We know Trump campaigned hard there in the Tar Heel state, okay? I was just at his rally the other day in Greensboro. He went 4 times in 3 days there, making that final push to voters, doing everything he could to try and work on his ground game. And look at that, it looks like it worked. So as he gets closer to the amount of electoral votes he needs to go right back to the White House, Trump telling his supporters through social media posts and his campaign that he is feeling very confident here. He voted earlier today here in Palm Beach, Florida, not far from where he is right now at Mar-a-Lago, and he said he didn't have his victory speech ready, but he would do it off the cuff if he needed to. And his message about the border and the economy seems to have resonated with a huge amount of voters. We saw how many big crowds he pulled in, not just in North Carolina, but Michigan, Ohio, all across these battleground and swing states, and it looks like the voter turnout matched up with that. So there was a little bit of a shift on the ground there in North Carolina. I remember when the early voting numbers came in, you guys, it looked like more registered Republicans cast their ballot in the Tar Heel state, the Democrats, for the first time in a while. So that shows the shift on the ground. We'll see how it plays out as we get closer to this thing possibly wrapping up. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Alexis McAdams from Trump headquarters, thank you very much.
All right, now let's go to Rich Edson. He's with the Harris team. How are they feeling as they see North Carolina drop off the map for them?
Yeah, John, the environment here has gotten much more subdued as North Carolina falls off the map, and then that path to victory gets narrower. What you're seeing now is essentially what the Harris campaign has been stressing, is that you got to take that path through the blue wall states, the upper Midwest, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. But there are major, major challenges there. I mean, this was a party atmosphere for a large chunk of the evening, but now trying to pump them up with some 90s Michael Jackson, but it still is pretty subdued here. What you got now here is some message from the Harris campaign that, hey, we still have a lot of outstanding votes, plenty of outstanding votes in Wayne County. That's Detroit. They're hoping that gives them a good boost. They say they've overperformed Pennsylvania in some of the turnout in Philadelphia and the surrounding counties there, and then some other indications closer to Milwaukee and Wisconsin. But still, it is an uphill climb right now as they're watching all this come through. It is those upper Midwest states where she has spent so much of her time campaigning, especially over the last week. She made her closing argument in Pennsylvania yesterday, was in Michigan a couple of days before that. So she's really, really pushing that there. Campaign on what the campaign said was the unfitness of office for former President Trump. She'd also talked a little bit more about the economy. Some polling had showed that she'd been closing the gap there. And then on top of that, of course, the 3 judges to the Supreme Court that the then President Trump appointed, who voted to overturn Roe versus Wade. It's something that Democrats believe brought them better than expected result in the 2022 midterms, and they were hoping to ride that here as well. But it's wait and see. It's not like too many people have gone home. We're not quite sure if or when we're going to see the vice president here at Howard University this evening. She's not here right now to address her supporters who have been with her for the last few hours as they have been watching these returns, going back and forth from music to news coverage, or news coverage now, maybe a little music a little bit from now. John Shannon, back to you.
Well, there's all kinds of projections. We're not going to know, at least until tomorrow, what's going on. So it would be nice if she dropped by to say thanks to people. Rich Edson for us. Rich, thank you. After midnight in the East, so let's bring in some new guests to discuss today's developments.
Yeah, joining us now, former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. Businessman Kevin O'Leary, Chairman O'Leary Ventures, former economic advisor to President Obama Robert Wolf, and former Clinton advisor Mark Penn. We've assembled a new team of Super Friends.
All right, so Mark, why don't you start us off since you're the man with the numbers? What are you seeing out there?
Well, I've called this like the tug of war campaign, only Trump's team is pulling that across the finish line ever so slowly. I mean, pretty much as you look at the polls, Harris is just underperforming slightly in the major cities. The suburbs didn't have this incredible rush over to Harris. Young people, surprisingly, actually voting more for Trump than before. Rural areas staying Trump. And all this means that the country remains almost precisely as divided as it has been for the last 8 years, but that he is more likely than not to pull it over the finish line as all these votes are counted. She still can win, but I think that's the probabilities right now.
We're still early with so many battlegrounds out there. Now, Kevin, how much of this came down or comes down to, we're still in process, the economy? She's talked about helping small businesses. People will